Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever this podcast finds you. I hope that you are realizing your worth. I hope that you are setting boundaries. And I hope that you are being intentional. I hope you are striving to be your best self no matter what. Um, welcome, welcome. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to this part of my journey. Know that I deserve whatever God has in store for me because I don't think people realize because I'm so positive and I'm so happy and you always see me smiling, I do not think people can even fathom the amount of negativity that I face daily. Okay? Um that's just where I'm starting. I'm starting to really heal. I am starting to really accept things for what they are and what they are not. And I'm really starting to accept God's purpose and calling on my life. Okay? And my only goal is for you to do the same. My goal is for, not my only goal. My goal is for you to do the same. My goal is for you to look at me and to see me and to know that this woman, against all odds, is fighting for her dream. She's cultivating and she's nurturing her purpose. And she is creating the life she feels she deserves. So if you want to just repeat after me, I'm focusing on my purpose. I'm creating the life I deserve. And against all odds, I will continue to do what I know God has placed on me to do. All right. So with that being said, my first episode, I'm diving right in. This is a very touchy subject. People don't really like to talk about it. And when I finally felt God said it's time, I knew I had to do things a certain way. Sometimes some people don't heal and they don't begin their journey to healing until someone dies. And now they can say what they really need to say. And now other people are like, oh, yes, I felt that way. And I feel like with us now being in the fourth month of 2021, with so much loss, with so much disappointment, we have to heal. It's not an option. It's imperative to living a better life. Because if you don't heal completely, what's going to happen is those triggers are going to continue to show up. It may be daily, it may be monthly, it may be yearly, but they'll still be there. So what I'm working on is just being my best self, healing completely, and against all odds, continuing to strive and be my best self. Okay? What I want to talk about is, what do you do when it's not a stranger, it's not your boss, it's not your enemy that's coming against you, but it's your friends and it's your family and it's those people closest to you. How do you handle it? How do you combat it? How do you overcome it? So, actually, for guys, I've been freestyling. My first year, I would have notes, I would have all of this stuff, and then I started to freestyle. Then I started to go to interviews, which I love doing. And what I'm doing right now for this episode, I did make some points because I want to make sure I hit on all of these points. So, What is at the root of a lot of our problems with family and friends is narcissistic behavior. A lot of us are dealing and living, and we've been we've just gotten used to these narcissists in our lives. And I think when I was raised, I was always taught a narcissist is a person who is just deeply into themselves. And as I've grown older and I've done more research, I've realized that is not it. It may be it to say a person is so into themselves that they do not care about anyone else's feelings. And that a person may be so into themselves that they're just into their own world and no one else's perception matters. But outside of that, if you just Google like narcissistic personality disorder, if you Google children raised by narcissists, you will find out a lot. Give me 1 second because my daughter just walked in. Grace, I'm recording. Can you give me a few minutes, please? I'll go get them, okay?
I'll go get them, okay?
Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Give mommy a few minutes. So, yes. Google narcissistic personality disorder. Google narcissistic mother, narcissistic father. If you see, a lot of children raised by narcissists are divided. They're not done in unity, but they're not living or raised in unity, because what a narcissist is going to do, unfortunately, is at the time, whatever child is more convenient to do this certain thing, that's what they're going to do. Okay? So when we are talking about family members and when we are talking about hurt that comes from within our circle, we have to make sure we acknowledge narcissistic behavior. All right? So I have a few points on that. I'm not going to hold you long. How can you combat narcissistic behavior? So the first thing you want to do, which is very important, is setting boundaries. You have to set boundaries to save your life. Setting boundaries is going to save your life. It's not going to feel good. It's going to feel kind of like you're being tortured. And it's going to feel like, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm improving. Why is everyone else not doing this? And you're going to feel alone. And no one likes to be alone or feel lonely. But what I want to say is, just because you are alone in a season, you do not have to be lonely. So what you have to do is connect to people who feed into you, who pour into you, and who affirm that what you're doing is okay. Sometimes you are separated. Like sometimes a person can be a problem, right? And they're separated from everyone and everything because no one wants to deal with them. But also someone can be separated because they're the solution to the problem that no one wants to face. So it's a lot. But you have to set those boundaries. You have to adjust to your new life after you set those boundaries. Because boundaries are not just going to affect the person you're setting them against. They're going to affect you. So you have to adjust to your new life. Another thing is making the narcissist aware of how their behavior affects you and how you feel with that behavior. You have to be comfortable with stating, this is how you make me feel. I feel like this when you do this, or I feel like this when you say this. You have to be able to state it. Okay? Now, once you state it, you have to accept it. So we're adjusting and then we're accepting. We are accepting them as they choose to be. Because no matter what, our ways are a choice. No matter why we are that way. Because I understand you've been abandoned. And I understand you've been rejected. And I understand you've been molested. And I understand that you've lived within poverty. And there's only one way that you know. But you have to accept the person as they choose to be. And just know it's a choice. Okay? Once you come into a realization, once you have told them how you're making them feel, they're choosing to continue to act the way. Okay? Second part is your absence. Your absence can say a lot. Your presence not being so readily available can say a lot. So again, when we are dealing with narcissists, we have to acknowledge it. We have to make them aware. We have to adjust. And then sometimes we have to choose to be absent. Okay? So we're going to say, if you're writing this down, I always encourage you to grab a pen and paper. We're going to acknowledge. We're going to make them aware. We are going to adjust. And then if we have to, we are going to create absence. Okay? Your absence can speak volumes. And again, I know it's not easy. I know it's your mom, and I know it's your sister, and I know it's your dad, and I know it's your favorite uncle, and I know it's your grandmother, but you're going to have to put these things into play for your peace of mind, okay? Another thing that I want to tell you is that, your feelings are valid. Just because your feelings don't make sense to everyone or to that specific person, they're still valid. Now, listen, I'm talking to a person who is on a healing journey. I'm talking to a person who has already accepted accountability for things that they have done as well. Okay? So if you need to accept accountability for things you have done, you still have to do that. What I'm saying does not give you a pass. So I'm speaking on behalf of a person who has started the healing journey and they want to just go deep as they can to heal themselves from the inside out. So just because a person or your feelings, your feelings are valid. Just because a person does not acknowledge those feelings, just because a person does not validate your feelings, it does not mean they're not valid. So that's when you have to reassure yourself, okay, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my peace of mind. I'm doing this so I can be in my best state of mental health. Another thing that you may face when coming up against a narcissist is you're telling them how you feel. Like, when you did this, I felt that way. And they're like, well, I don't see it that way. Just because you don't see it that way does not mean it did not affect me that way. So that's when we get into growth. That's when we get into acknowledging, okay, I did this. I said that. It made you feel that way, and it wasn't right. It's okay. We are not right all the time. Okay? Call things out. Identify them. Make it known. And again, set those boundaries and expectations. I'm going to wrap with, there's a little person on the inside of you that needs to be healed. There's a little person on the inside of you that needs to know that they are safe. There's a little person on the side of you that needs to know, hey, we made it. I know you were rejected. I know you were abandoned. I know you were misunderstood. I know you were not affirmed, but you're here, girl. You're here, boy. You made it. You're still living. You're attempting to thrive. You are being successful. You are advocating for a bigger purpose than yourself. What you went through was bigger than you. What you went through was bigger than you. And I know sometimes we want to say, God, is this what it looks like? When I start healing, when I start really taking care of myself and catering to myself and loving on myself, is this what it looks like? People are going to deter from me. Let them go. Let those people go. Your people are going to be there for you. And they are going to support you. And they are going to love you. I want to say rest in peace. We just lost DMX. He was a very powerful soul. I pray that he finds the peace that he searched for. So with me praying that he finds the peace that he searched for, I pray that you find the peace that you search for. But I pray that you don't have to leave this earth to do it. Because he made his mark. I pray you find the peace you need to survive this hectic, crazy world. I'm rooting for you. I want to say I love you just in case you haven't heard it, because it feels good to hear it. And I want you to be your best self. I'm here for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for continuing to grow with me on this journey. We're 2 years in, guys, for the Resilient Real podcast. And that just makes my heart smile. When I couldn't get my book out, I went full force with the podcast. And I thank God for that, because it's an outlet for me. And I connect with so many people going through so many different things. It is time to heal. It is time to heal. And what I'm trying to say, I'm not sure what that was, but what I'm trying to say is it's worth it. It's worth it. Keep going so you can see why it's worth it. Keep going. Welcome to my new YouTube page, Portia Sherelle. Continue to stream the podcast, Resilient Real. Saving Grace is in the publishing stages. It's for real. Seriously. I talk about a lot of deep topics in that book. I talk about suicide. I talk about resentment. I talk about drug use. I talk about being raised by a single father. I talk about generational curses. I talk about abuse. This book is needed, and it's time. It's time. If you listen to my last few episodes, God has not forgotten about you. Who are you not? Acceptance. I thank you so much. I thank you so much for your positive feedback. Just know I am fighting with everything within me to fulfill my purpose. So when you see me winning, or if you feel like I'm winning, I deserve it all. I'm always open to questions. You deserve it all as well. I love you. And until next time, you keep pushing.